Woke up quick at about noon.
Well, that didn't take long at all. I could not wait to sit down in front of this microphone and talk with you here today. Welcome into the podcast with Damian Barling. I am Damian Barling. I thank you so much for downloading. I thank you so much for streaming. I thank you so much for listening wherever you may be at. You know where Anthony Davis is. He's in Los Angeles. Anthony Davis is going to be, I guess that's how we have to state it. We can't say Anthony Davis is a Los Angeles Laker. We have to say Anthony Davis is going to be a Los Angeles Laker. And if you go back to Friday's show, we were talking about how, you know, the NBA Finals is over, but the NBA conversation is going nowhere. We've got the NBA draft coming up this week. Of course, we got free agency coming up on June 30th. And after the Kevin Durant injury, especially the extent of it, knowing that Kevin Durant isn't going to play basketball next year, our focus had shifted to, okay, Kevin Durant was the prize piece in free agency. Everything that happens is likely going to center around what Kevin Durant does. And with the belief and understanding that he is going to be out for all of next season, we speculated as to maybe that's shifted. And maybe the biggest proponent, maybe the biggest factor in this upcoming free agency isn't a guy who's a free agent. It's Anthony Davis. And how much has free agency changed now that Anthony Davis is a member of the Los Angeles Lakers? We're going to talk a lot about that today. We'll give you the particulars. I'm sure you have heard them all by now ad nauseam. We've been talking about it on social media all throughout the weekend. The Lakers are sending Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and 3 first-round picks, including the number 4 overall pick in Thursday's NBA draft. That's a big haul. The Lakers were able to hold on to Kyle Kuzma, which many people who, you know, you got to grade trades, right? Before anything happens, before anybody is drafted, before a game is ever played, you got to react to it. That's what we do in the sports world. That's what we do as sports fans. We have to react to something right away, and we are reacting to this. And the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers were able to hold on to Kyle Kuzma have given people who like this deal for the Los Angeles Lakers a little extra fuel, while those who don't like the deal have stated, at least who don't like the deal for the Lakers, have said they gave up way too much. I do believe there is a scenario where you can say both teams win. And this is a scenario where I think that is absolutely true. I think this is a scenario where you can say David Griffin and the New Orleans Pelicans are walking away winners. And I think this is a deal where you can say Rob Pelinka and the Los Angeles Lakers are walking away winners. Here's really the most important thing. Griff had to get out of this. He had to put the Anthony Davis thing behind him. He sat down with AD. He sat down with Rich Paul. If you believe the reports, he tried to pitch him on staying. Everybody said it was a nice, cordial meeting with the belief and the understanding that we appreciate it. We respect Griff. We like Griff. But the fact is, Anthony Davis doesn't want to play in New Orleans anymore. And his trade demand is exactly the same. It's cool that you're going to get Zion. It's cool that you got a new regime going here. It's cool that you're trying to build something. We've been here too long. We don't want to be a part of it. We want to go to Los Angeles. And you can frame it as, I want to go to Los Angeles. I want to go to New York. I want to go to Brooklyn. I want to go here. I want to go there. But it all kept coming back to Los Angeles. The Rich Paul conversation in Sports Illustrated the other day that we talked about. Don't blame me if Boston gives up all these assets and he leaves, because we're telling you now he's not going to re-sign a deal in Boston. There's a lot over the last few weeks that has really hindered Boston's ability to get Anthony Davis, and we'll talk about that as well. But all signs kept going back to the Lakers. And I don't think there was another team in the NBA that was completely comfortable with acquiring Anthony Davis, even if it was, say, New York, or even let's say it was a Brooklyn. I don't think anyone is fully confident that they were going to be able to re-sign Anthony Davis, because there's always going to be the LeBron James, Rich Paul dynamic. And as long as LeBron James is a Los Angeles Laker, there's going to be a belief that, well, Rich Paul is going to try to steer superstar clients to the Los Angeles Lakers. And so Griff was in a situation where you got to get out of it. I made my pitch. They said no. It's fine. Let's try to get out of this. There were reports that the owner said, you're over my dead body, will you trade Anthony Davis to the Los Angeles Lakers? Now, the owner has said that report it's not true, that wasn't said, that wasn't uttered, that wasn't hinted at. But I do look at this deal, and I go back to Magic Johnson, and I think, didn't Magic throw this exact deal with Kyle Kuzma involved at the New Orleans Pelicans back in February? Maybe I'm misremembering, or maybe that deal was reported, falsely. But didn't we get as high as Ball, Ingram, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, and 3 first-round picks? Didn't we get that high? And this was before knowing that this year's pick was going to be the number 4 overall. So we're kind of full circle here with the New Orleans Pelicans, because we speculated on the radio. Was Dell Demps told, no, don't make a deal with the Lakers, don't talk to Magic Johnson, don't do anything? Because look at how this deal is accepted now. Because I wonder if Griff just went to ownership and said, this is a great deal. I can build with this. I can draft at number 4. I can flip the number 4 into something else. And then, hey, if AD gets hurt, if LeBron gets hurt, they're going to be filling out their roster, even if they land a free agent in a couple of weeks. We'll get to that in a minute. Even if they land a free agent in a couple of weeks, they're going to be filling out their roster with minimum contract guys. This is the deal. This is the deal we have to take. Or perhaps the deal takes a different shape because unlike back in February, now that one of the picks you're acquiring from the Los Angeles Lakers is the number 4 overall pick. Perhaps that's the biggest difference in the deal done on, June 15th versus the deal that was proposed by Magic Johnson to Dell Demps, 2 guys who aren't even with these respective teams anymore, back in February. The number 4 overall pick, that's massive value now for the New Orleans Pelicans, whether it's to use this year to draft a player or it's to turn it into something else. I love the deal for both teams. I think they both win. I think the Lakers get the guy that they wanted. Anthony Davis gets what he wants. LeBron James gets what he wants. And David Griffin and the New Orleans Pelicans get a haul of assets. Now, we do this thing in the NBA where we look at picks and we tie them to the first round. Like a first round pick, okay, that's good. They got 3 first round picks, including the number 4 overall. That is awesome. Okay. This isn't football, man. Those number 1 overall picks, those first round picks in football, those are gold. You rarely see those traded. I was stunned when the Dallas Cowboys traded a first round pick for Amari Cooper. You just rarely see those moved. That's not the case in the NBA. Because really what we're talking about, there's almost 2 separate rounds in the NBA draft. And you're going to see this coming up here on Thursday. There's the lottery, and then there's the rest of the first round. And you can't guarantee that these picks from the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be lottery picks. You actually have to assume that these picks aren't going to be lottery picks, and then you're hoping you fall into a situation that the Boston Celtics fell into with the Brooklyn Nets, where it felt like the Celtics, well, it didn't feel like it. It was actually accurate. The Celtics were having first-round picks, high first-round picks, year after year after year after year after year, because Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were well past their prime. They were well past winning championships. They were well past leading teams. So the Celtics fell into something, and perhaps David Griffin is looking like, man, LeBron's coming off his, the first significant injury of his career. Anthony Davis, people, everybody, when you talk about Anthony Davis, you go, yeah, but he's never played a full season. Yeah, but he's a big guy who gets injured. Yeah, but. And if you get one of those, yeah, but next year, man, like the Lakers, they're not supposed to have the number 4 pick. They weren't even supposed to be in the lottery, remember? There were basketball people going on television telling you that the Los Angeles Lakers were going to win the West. Now, it's those hot take basketball people, but nonetheless, it's still people going on TV telling you that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to win the Western Conference. They're telling you they're going to be a top 3 seed, and they'll use their record at Christmas at the time of LeBron's injury to validate their argument. When some struggles for the Los Angeles Lakers had begun to appear in the week prior, and they were just magnified after LeBron James got injured. So you had that, yeah, but this season. And as guys get older, you're hoping, yeah, well, maybe you've got a couple of more of those. And that's what Griff is banking on here. And you know what? Another thing, my buddy brought this to my attention. I thought this was a great point. Did the Sacramento Kings influence this deal at all? Like, think about this. I had mentioned the Boston Celtics a minute ago. The Sacramento Kings won so many games that Boston Celtics pick became, it was just kind of like, it's the last pick of the lottery. You just kind of looking at it like, all right, whatever, fine. Like, I don't even think Kings fans are sad about losing it. And I don't even think you should be. One, because the pick is so low, and two, the last thing that the Sacramento Kings need is another young player. But I thought that was a great point by my guy who said, the Kings won so many games that pick they sent to Boston became it wasn't a big deal. So it wasn't a strong trade asset for the Boston Celtics. And now you got reports that the Boston Celtics refused to part with Jason Tatum in this trade. I wouldn't do it either. Why would I trade Jason Tatum? Why would I trade a piece of my long-term future for a guy who's going to come play for a year when I don't even know if my marquee player, who is a free agent, is going to resign? That's the other thing that killed the Boston Celtics this year. Because imagine going way back to right before the season started and Kyrie Irving standing on the parquet floor, TD Garden saying, hey, if y'all have me back, I'm going to come back. If y'all have me back, I'm going to resign here. See, one of the biggest issues for teams is that the financial incentive to sign during the year is not there. Like, they've tried to come up with all of these incentives for small market teams to sign their players to longer term contracts or to keep guys on teams, give them that financial incentive. The Anthony Davis has more incentive to stay in New Orleans. Kyrie Irving has more incentive to stay in Boston. Not that Boston is a small market team, but still the incentive is still there. But it's only there if you opt out of the final year of your deal. It's only there if you're a free agent. Then you can sign the long term. You can't sign that deal during the year. It's more financially beneficial to opt out and sign that big contract. So you go all the way back to before the season, and Kyrie standing out there going, yeah, I'm gonna be here if y'all want me, and the crowd going crazy, and everyone saying that. What was so funny about that is when the video came out and it was reported, everybody met it immediately with skepticism. Everybody looked at that like, okay. You say that now, but we'll see. Like, it was mentioned, hey, Kyrie said he was going to stay in Boston. Kyrie said he was going to stay in Boston. And I felt like everybody was going, yeah, but no one's behind it because he can't sign the deal now. So none of this matters. Everything he said that day, none of it mattered. So it felt like as the season went along, Kyrie was more and more disconnected. And we know about all of the drama that went on with the Boston Celtics during this year. And I mean, maybe it's a bit of a stretch to call it drama, but it felt like there was stuff there. It felt like there were, you had the big cathartic moment for Kyrie Irving to come out and say, oh man, I had to text LeBron. I had to call LeBron and tell him, Bron, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being that young kid who didn't get it, because now I'm surrounded by young kids who don't seem to get it. It's like, oh, okay. That's interesting for a number of reasons, but that's interesting. And then you've got the big flight out to California where they got the road trip against the Clippers and the Lakers and the Warriors and the Kings, and they go like 3-1 or 4-0 or whatever it was, and everyone's blamed. What a plane ride, man. It did so much for us. We bonded. We're better. We're good. Let's head back to Boston, and then everything is not so much. Then you have a team that, oh, by the way, won the first 5 games they played in during the playoffs, including a win over, was it the Bucks? Can't remember if those Bucks or the Raptors, but they beat someone in that first game, and it was like, oh, okay, all right. Okay, they might be the most dangerous team in the NBA right now. And then they lost the next 4 straight. And then you had Terry Rozier going out on ESPN immediately following the season talking about, if something doesn't change, man, I got to go. This doesn't work for me. This isn't me here. Like I sacrificed more than anybody did. And we all knew who he was talking about. He didn't specifically say, I sacrificed everything for Kyrie Irving. He didn't specifically say that Kyrie Irving is a problem. But we all knew. And we all knew that it was Terry Rozier because we looked at last year. Look how much Terry Rozier did last year. Look how well the Boston Celtics played last year. Into the playoffs without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, without their 2 biggest offseason acquisitions. Look what they did. And people looked at Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier made a name for himself. And now he's a free agent. And now, there was a report last week, that the Celtics weren't 100% sold on re-signing Kyrie Irving. Now, there may not be any truth to that. And, it's kind of lying season here, just like the NFL has a lying season. Perhaps the NBA has one too, and you just kind of, people float stuff out there. But I would completely believe that. I would 100% believe Danny Ainge sitting in a room with the rest of his management team and Brad Stevens and all the coaches going, he's talented. He's really, really good. He's a top-tier player in the league. Yeah, but I don't know, man. It didn't seem to click while he was here. It didn't seem to work. There didn't seem to be a fit. He seemed to kind of be off-putting to some of his teammates or a lot of his teammates. I don't think it's the worst thing if we lose him and use that salary cap to pursue somebody else or use that salary money to pursue somebody else. I am not sure. I believe they're going to pitch Kyrie Irving. I believe they're going to talk to Kyrie Irving. And when Kyrie signs with another team, which I believe that he's going to do, I don't think the Celtics are going to be broken up over it. I think the Celtics will have their meeting and they will continue to pursue free agents with the belief that Kyrie isn't coming back. And that fact right there hindered their ability to get Anthony Davis. Not just hindered their ability, but I think it hindered their desire to get Anthony Davis. Because then you got into this juggling act where, are the Celtics acquiring Anthony Davis with the hopes of getting Kyrie Irving to stay? Do they have to? I mean, you don't have to sell Anthony Davis on anything because it's a trade. And as Rich Paul said, they'll show up, they'll fulfill their contractual obligations, and then they'll leave in 2020. So you don't have to convince Anthony Davis of anything. But are you acquiring Anthony Davis and going over to Kyrie on June 30th going, hey, look at the big fella. We got him here for you. Or were you using Kyrie Irving? Like, I just didn't get what the Boston Celtics were trying to do, not knowing the fate of Kyrie Irving. Because why would you even consider acquiring Anthony Davis, meaning you would have to give up assets without Kyrie Irving there? Because in today's NBA, you're a star short. At least 1 star short. You might be 2. So I'm happy. I'm happy that he didn't wind up with the Boston Celtics. I think it's good that Danny Ainge had zero interest in parting with Jason Tatum, and if he just offered the New Orleans Pelicans the CBA allowed 4 first-round picks and 1 or 2 other players and left that main core out of it, I'm completely okay with that. Because you had a public proclamation that he's not coming back. And this goes to the Kawhi Leonard situation now. Everybody wants to roll the dice thinking if we get that guy, we could win the title. Even if he leaves, we get him in here, we win a championship. Well, there's very few teams that Anthony Davis could get to next season and win a championship with. Boston may very well have been one of them if Kyrie was under contract. Like if this deal had been able to been done last year and you have Kyrie with you guaranteed, and in that situation, you gave up Jason Tatum and you got Anthony Davis for the year, then that's an entirely different story. But you would have had to make the deal for Anthony Davis before free agency started. It was very clear last week. And we talked about it on last week's podcast. It was very clear Griff wanted to get this done. David Griffin wanted to get this done. He wanted to get it done before the draft. He wanted to get it done before free agency. He wanted to get the Anthony Davis in New Orleans era over with and move on with building his new team. That was as clear as day. Because after his meeting, rumors started to circulate. Okay, you started to hear who Anthony Davis and Rich Paul and who they all wanted him to play for. And then you started to hear Griff was looking at multi-teams trades. And it was very, very clear last week that there was a lot going on surrounding Anthony Davis. He wanted to get this done. And again, this is a situation where I believe everybody wins. The Lakers win. The Pelicans win. The Celtics win. LeBron wins. Anthony Davis wins. Rich Paul wins. Brian Windhurst was quick to report, well, sources close to Anthony Davis say he's going to play out his final year and enter free agency next year. Of course he is. That's the financially smart thing to do. He's going to enter free agency, and he's going to re-sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. Even if this year goes bad, I think he's going to re-sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. Because remember, people have been trying, and this is a reach. This was such a reach. But people were comparing this deal to the Dwight Howard deal. Oh, they're both big men. They're both 26. They've both had their share of injuries. Dwight had a back injury. That is very, very different than what Anthony Davis has going on. But that is such a weak comparison. Dwight Howard was in his prime, not forgetting, not undermining. Dwight Howard, a very, very, very good player in his time during that stretch with Orlando. Very, very good. Yes, it all went to hell in Los Angeles. But yet, on July 1st, the Lakers still offered Dwight Howard a deal. They still offered him a max contract to stay. He didn't stay, and I don't think the Lakers cared. Everybody was saying, don't do it. Like, don't re-sign Dwight. But they still went through with it. They still pitched him. They still went through their meetings. They still did all of that stuff, and he left. Which... it was a win for everybody, except for Houston, or whatever team he landed on. Oh, speaking of Houston, did you see? This was such a good weekend. Did you see the report that Chris Paul allegedly doesn't want to play with the Houston Rockets anymore? I don't know the validity of that, but I felt like that story was kind of drowned out by the Anthony Davis news. But how great was that to read, given that we had heard, well, maybe Chris Paul is on the table. Maybe Clint Capella's on the table here. Maybe there's going to be some wheeling and dealing headed into free agency. Is Chris Paul trying to finally maneuver his way into a Los Angeles Laker uniform? I don't think the Lakers can't do it. Lakers can't. First of all, they have 5 players on their roster. I can't even remember the name, and I'm terribly sorry. I can't remember the name of the 2 other guys. Obviously, it's Kuzma, it's AD, and it's LeBron. I can't remember the name of the 2 other guys. I saw it, and I should have jotted it down. I don't even know if they're names I could pronounce. They're probably names you don't even know. But they have 2 other guys on their roster. They have no money to trade, to send to Houston to get Chris Paul back. That's crazy. And who's going to take Chris Paul's deal? If that story is real, and if all of this talk about the Houston Rockets and everybody's on the table except James Harden is going to be a roster overhaul and all of this, who's going to take that Chris Paul deal? Who's going to take that Chris Paul age? I'm a Chris Paul guy. I like him. I know a lot of people don't, and I completely understand why a lot of people don't. A lot of the stuff that he does is frustrating. It's nauseating. It's annoying. I just think he's a hell of a ball player. He has a hell of a basketball IQ. And I actually believe that he fits perfectly with Mike D'Antoni's system. So I think it's foolish for the Rockets, unless you're just trying to clear money. And, oh, by the way, Mr. Fertitta, what you were bitching about this offseason after you were eliminated by the Warriors, again, you're talking about spending money and all of that. You didn't spend money last year. That's why your roster was depleted. It's not why you lost, because I believe you have a bunch of performers and a coach who can't win in a big game. But you don't have the Trevor Arizas there anymore. You don't have those guys that very much help you anymore. That's your fault. The only reason to move Chris Paul if you're Houston is money. Unless you get a hell of a return, the only reason to move him is money. But I thought that story was humorous, and I felt like it just got lost in the weekend because of all the Anthony Davis stuff. Pelicans will now have the two of the top 4 picks in Thursday's draft. They'll have the number 1, obviously. I'm sure they're going to use that. We all believe they're going to use that to draft Zion Williamson. And then they'll have the number 4. And there has already been conversations that people have contacted, that teams have contacted the Pelicans about that number 4 pick, which is interesting because you've heard so much about the top 3. Well, this is a strong draft 1 through 3. And then I don't even know that there's been a consensus on who the number 4 overall pick is. And you know what I didn't realize until getting ready for this show is what a great year, because it was so, we were watching the Pelicans because of what they did, the year prior. They didn't bring DeMarcus back. They made that strong run without him. They went into the playoffs, and we kind of kept their eye. They were up and down. And then in, late January or maybe it was mid-January, you had the public trade request from Rich Paul on behalf of Anthony Davis. And lost in all of that was the fact that Anthony Davis was having an extraordinary year. AD averaged career highs in rebounds, assists, and steals all last season. That's amazing. He's one of 4 players since the ABA-NBA merger to average at least 23, 10, and 2 blocks per game in his first 7 seasons. He's one of 5 players to be named an All-Star in each of the last 6 seasons. Bron, Steph, KD, James Harden, they're the other ones. And Anthony Davis would become the 7th player in NBA history to change teams the season after averaging 25 and 10. The last one to do that was DeMarcus Cousins. He did that for the Pelicans, and then he joined the Golden State Warriors. One thing that I was a bit confused about was the Supermax. I know AD's qualifications have, I know AD's history has given him the qualifications for the Supermax, but I thought there was something tied to like playing with a team for a certain number of years or signing with the team that drafted you or something like that. I don't know. But Anthony Davis can sign this offseason for 5 years, $205. I didn't think he was eligible for that contract, but in my research here, it says that he is. So what the hell do I know? But I swore there was something about you could sign that Supermax deal with the team that drafted you or the team that drafted you in your original contract. This isn't his original contract because the Pelicans drafted him, but this is his, well, maybe that's what it is. But this is he's in his 2nd contract, right? Heading to his 3rd. I don't know, man. I can't keep up with all of this. Maybe he's headed into his 2nd. This is his 5 years, but he is eligible for the 5 years, $205 million if he signs with another team, which no one believes he's going to. He's going to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. It would be 4 years, $152 million. We'll get to some of your comments. A lot of people had a lot to say about this. One of the things, I'll just go to one of the comments right now because it's worth touching on because I just mentioned it. Something somebody kept bringing up. Greg, my man Greg over on Facebook. Lakers gave up too much. They could have just got him as a free agent next year. Well, it's not that simple. See, it's not as easy to say, well, they should have just signed him next year. It wouldn't have cost them all these assets. In order for them to do that, they would have had to remain virtually stagnant this entire free agent period. They would have had to have kept that money available to give to him next year because you can go over the cap. Remember, you can go over the cap as the Golden State Warriors have taught us, as the Miami Heat have taught us, as the Cleveland Cavaliers have taught us. You can go over the cap. You can go significantly over the cap. 1, if you're willing to pay a penalty, but 2, if you're paying the players that are on your team. You can't go over the cap if you're trying to acquire free agents. So if the Lakers had gotten themselves in a situation where they only had $20 million available next year or $25 million available, Anthony Davis would have to sign for $25 million. Like that's the way it would have to be. Now you could creatively do one in and one out, a 1-and-1 where you opt in or opt out after the first year and re-sign a new deal. You could do things like that. You'd have to get creative. You'd have to look at what your cap situation is the following year. But that's the reason you couldn't afford to wait, because you would have just had to sit on your hands this year, and you don't want LeBron getting another year older. Now, I'm not of the mindset that LeBron James is starting to crack. That was another very popular conversation in some of our discussions over the weekend, is that LeBron James is, he's starting to show signs. Yeah, even if he is. And I don't believe that he is. Just because he was injured, I don't believe he's starting to show signs of cracking. He's starting to show signs of getting older. He's starting to show signs of not being the best player in the league. I still think he is. I still think he's the best player in the league. Or he's in the conversation. You're talking about 3 players at the most. One of them has an Achilles tear. So maybe you're just talking about. Maybe you're talking about 80. Maybe you're talking about LeBron, Kawhi, and Giannis is one of those guys as being the best player. And people are only talking about Kawhi now because he won a championship. Kawhi was great all year, but all everybody kept pointing out was that he missed 20 games during the regular season. Then he goes on to win a championship, and it's like, he might be the best player in the game. Like, wait a minute, what? It was just KD. And it was just Giannis. And we're all forgetting about LeBron James. But even though I'm of the mindset he's not cracking, even though I'm of the mindset, he's not getting old, he's starting to wear down, he's going downhill from here, I still don't want to wait another year. LeBron James signed a 4-year deal to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't want to waste 2 of them. Because if you don't attempt to acquire Anthony Davis this offseason and you go in with the mindset of, we'll just get him next year, you're wasting 2 of LeBron James' years with you, even if you do get a free agent this offseason. Now, that's been the next part of the discussion, is how much money will the Los Angeles Lakers actually have available to acquire another free agent on June 30th? And there's, everybody's a capologist all of a sudden, where we're talking about trade kickers and projected salary caps and all this. They'll only have $23 million. I don't even know that the true capologists know what they're talking about yet, because I have notes in front of me that were put out there the day of the trade by ESPN Stats and Info that says that Bobby Marks, their capologist, their front office insider, said that there will be $32.5 million available. Then, I think after a little bit more realization on the deal being done on July 2nd, then it became, okay, he has a trade incentive here, so that's going to drop it down to $23 million. The belief is he'll decline the trade kicker, which there is a history for. I believe Carmelo Anthony did it. I'm almost positive Carmelo Anthony did it, but I know players have declined that trade kicker before to allow their new team, to have more cap flexibility. And so the belief right now is that there's going to be $27 million available if the deal is executed on July 6th. If the deal is executed on July 30th, that opens it up closer to the $32 million that they need to sign a max player. But there is little incentive for the New Orleans Pelicans to execute the deal on July 30th, as they're either going to draft a player that I assume they're going to want to be able to see in Summer League, or they're going to trade that player on Thursday or leading into Thursday, or maybe not the player, they're going to trade that pick on Thursday. And then they have financial incentives to get the deal done before July 30th. So how all of this is going to work out, I'm not really sure. But I know that my belief about how the Los Angeles Lakers offseason was going to go has completely changed. And it's changed for Las Vegas as well. The Superbook at Westgate reported somebody placed a $10,000 bet on the Lakers at 5-1 odds right before the Anthony Davis news broke. That's fun. The Vegas, that same Vegas sportsbook, the Superbook, they actually made the Lakers the favorite to win the championship right after the Raptors won. So apparently they were all in on the Lakers offseason. I very much was not. I had said the Lakers, it doesn't appear they're going to be able to get Anthony Davis. I don't think people are digging what's going on in Los Angeles. I think they're going to strike out. They're going to strike out across the board. We're going to talk more about free agency here in just a heartbeat. If you want to connect with the show, number of ways you could do it. Hit us on the text line. That text line was rocking this weekend after that news about Anthony Davis came out. 916-888-5898. That's 916-5898. No, that's not the number. It's 916-888-5898. See, I'm so excited to talk about all this stuff. I'm getting the phone number wrong. Shoot us a text no matter when you are listening to this. Day, night, morning, afternoon, whatever it may be. I've got this number with me all the time. Just shoot me a text. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know what you think about the AD deal, what you think about the Lakers, what you think about the Pelicans. Go like Damian Barling on Facebook as well. Lots of conversations going on there all throughout the day. And give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram as well. If you have not, at Damian Barling, these conversations continue all throughout the day. That's one of the beauties of not having a radio show that's on for specific hours, is people are listening to this all throughout the day. So I'm getting different perspectives on the different things that we talk about all throughout the day. And I absolutely love hearing that. So keep those coming. Again, the text line is 916-888-5898. So let's get back to free agency here, as we were talking about that just for a moment. I didn't think the Lakers were going to have a successful free agent campaign. I thought June 30th was going to come and go, and they were going to walk away unhappy. And that's completely changed now, because I believe when you acquire Anthony Davis, no matter what you think about LeBron James, no matter what you think about Rob Pelinka or what's going on there in Los Angeles, the fact is, you got Anthony Davis. You got a 26-year-old big man. You've got two of the top, I don't know, what game you want to play? Top 5, top 6, top 10 players in the league on that roster. And now you could start looking at it like, oh, okay, KD is out. So even if he doesn't re-sign, or even if he does re-sign with the Golden State Warriors, he's still gone. Klay Thompson, he's out probably for the entire year, if not for the better part of the year. I'm still of the belief that the Warriors are going to be good next year. Are they going to be 50-win good or championship win good? Probably not. And if they are, that's a tremendous accomplishment for Steph Curry and Draymond Green. But I do believe that they're going to be good. I do believe they're going to be very good. Probably a top 4 team in the conference, just with those two guys leading the way. Assuming, of course, they acquire some help. But now I look at the Lakers, and I look at their opportunity to win a championship next season. Or let's hold off on winning a championship. Let me do this better. I look at the Los Angeles Lakers and look at their ability to win the Western Conference next year. And I look at it like, okay, I don't believe in Houston at all. So what's Denver going to be? If we have this, and this, could we knock off Denver? Okay. What about Oklahoma City? Oklahoma City didn't make any adjustments. Oklahoma City didn't make any changes. What's Portland going to do? I know that Portland's going to be a major factor in free agency. Maybe they're going to land on the best draft pick of all. I mean, that's their best case scenario. Okay, what about Utah? And you start running through these teams, and then you got to start going to the teams that did make the playoffs. And you look at, or you got to throw in the Los Angeles Clippers there. Do the Los Angeles Clippers acquire Kawhi Leonard? I'm absolutely of the belief that the Clippers are going to acquire Kawhi Leonard. Are they going to acquire someone else along the way who can go there to play with Kawhi? So you've got all that. Now you start looking at, okay, what about this young Sacramento Kings team? What about Dallas? They've got Porzingis. They got Luka. Oh, they've got something going there. Okay, but if I'm a free agent, I join Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Could we win this conference? And I believe the answer, especially if you're a free agent like Kemba Walker, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you could go there and win a championship. I think Kemba Walker is a great fit for them. Jimmy Butler, I don't know that Jimmy Butler is number 1 on the list of free agents for the Los Angeles Lakers, though I would bet the Los Angeles Lakers are number 1 on Jimmy Butler's list. Well, okay. There's a conversation there. I think it was smart. I know a lot of people dislike Lonzo Ball. A lot of people say he was drafted too high. A lot of people have, given their feelings about him, which are probably more feelings about his father. But that's all fine. If you want to evaluate his game and his lack of jump shot, I'm totally okay with that. I think Lonzo Ball still has potential to be a very good basketball player, and I think Lonzo Ball was a horrible mix with LeBron James. I just didn't think those two players went well together. I think Lonzo will do very well in New Orleans. I think Lonzo will do very well if he winds up anywhere else. I just don't think he was a good fit for LeBron. And Lonzo is a guy who needs to have the ball in his hands. He's a guy who can execute the offense. Well, LeBron James is the guy who brings the ball up the floor. He's the guy who executes the offense. You know, the point forward term, it didn't work. It didn't fit. But you bring a guy in that point guard position who could play on and off the ball. See, that's the key. Lonzo couldn't play off the ball, which is why I never understood the signing of Rajon Rondo either. Because Rajon Rondo doesn't play well. No one fears the mid-range shot from Rajon Rondo. But you go get a Kemba Walker, and this is my belief, and I could be way off on this. If the plan was for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, have the same agent. Remember Kyrie switching over to Rock Nation? I don't believe any of that stuff happens on accident. But let's hypothetically say here, the plan was always to go to Brooklyn together. Or let's say the plan was always to go to New York together. Let's say the plan was always to go somewhere together. KD and Kyrie together. If you're Kyrie Irving, are you like, man, I don't want to go to Brooklyn and sit around and wait for Kevin Durant to get healthy for a year? I don't want to go wait there. Like, I'm losing years here. I don't want to do that. Like, KD's going to be rehabbing. He's going to come back. He's going to be completely healthy. I'm going to be out here busting my ass with the Brooklyn Nets or the New York Knicks or whoever. We know the big public kiss and makeup by Kyrie and LeBron. Is there anything to Kyrie going to the Los Angeles Lakers and playing with LeBron James and Anthony Davis? I'm certainly no NBA insider. I have no idea if there is. But to me, it makes complete sense. Because if you're Kyrie, why would you sit and wait? Why would you sit and wait for Kevin Durant to get healthy? If the plan was to play together, and that's dope. Go play with your buddies. I like it. But your buddy ain't going to be healthy for another year. What if something happens to you at the end of next year? What if something happens to you in the middle of the year? Like, you're going to be in a tough spot. Are you willing to just waive next year? I think Kyrie goes to Brooklyn. Brooklyn's good. I like Brooklyn. They were an under-reported on story this year. They were good. Okay. Kyrie goes, okay, they're still good. Are they better than, Boston without Kyrie? Are they better than Philadelphia? Are they better than Milwaukee? Are they better than Toronto potentially without Kawhi? I don't think so. I don't think they're better than any of those teams. Even with superstars missing from what we saw last year, I don't think they're better than any of those. Kevin Durant's injury may have been the single most influencing factor in free agency. And if it's not, it's the Anthony Davis trade. Those things are 1 and 1A right now. Because I wonder, I said this to you last week, does Kevin Durant look at money differently now? Does he look at things differently knowing, man, this could all be taken away that quickly? Now, I'm of the belief Kevin Durant comes back 1,000%. He comes back as one of the best basketball players on the planet. 100% believe that. But does he look at it like, man, 5 years, 220. I think I'm going to hang here. I'm going to hang here in Oakland, man, or San Francisco. I'm going to hang here in the Bay Area. It's nice. Got good money. I could afford a nice little place and great stuff on the Embarcadero. I'm good. I'm going to stay here. You got his injury. You got Kyrie not wanting to sit around and wait for a year. Now you got Anthony Davis in Los Angeles. You had the little hug fest there when, I'm sorry, LeBron. I can't believe I was such a young knucklehead. Okay. Seems to me that the pathway is there. There's a yellow brick road that leads Kyrie Irving back to the land of LeBron. It's right there. I had always thought, how does this change the Lakers' approach to free agency? But a better question might be, how does it change free agents' approach to the Los Angeles Lakers. Because you may have watched all of that stuff with Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd and Magic Johnson trashing the Lakers every time he went on television and trashing or he didn't trash the Lakers, I'm sorry. He was trashing Rob Pelinka, and he was trashing everything that people within the Lakers were saying about him. And now he gives Rob Pelinka the big thumbs up and the high five on Twitter. It's like, all right, that's cool. But were you a free agent watching that from afar going, man, what a circus. I don't want to be a part of that. LeBron's declining. He's already a difficult player to play with. You've already got the fit in or fit out or whatever that line he used for Kevin Love was. He's had subtweets to Kyrie Irving in the past. You got all of that stuff. When you sign on to play with LeBron, you're signing on to play with that. You're signing on to deal with that stuff. Now you're signing on to play with an older LeBron. But you're probably still going to be dealing with that stuff. But does Anthony Davis change all of that? Does the acquisition of Anthony Davis and the loss of Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson to the Golden State Warriors, does that change the mindset of teams that or players that may not have liked the idea of signing with the Los Angeles Lakers before, now suddenly make the Los Angeles Lakers the most attractive destination for them? The Ringer reported that the Lakers will be in pursuit of Kawhi Leonard as well. Again, all of this stuff makes sense. If you're a team with max cap space, you should be in pursuit of every max player. You should be in pursuit of Kawhi Leonard. The Lakers should be in pursuit of Kevin Durant, of Kyrie Irving, of Kemba Walker. When you have that money, you should be in pursuit of all. People ask about, well, what can the Sacramento Kings do? Sacramento Kings got max money. Yep. They should be in pursuit of all of those players. They should offer a max deal to Kawhi Leonard. They should offer a max deal to Kemba Walker. They should offer a max deal to all of those guys out there. And yes, I did say Kemba Walker. I'm a huge Kemba Walker fan. I don't know that he'd fit on the Kings, but you get where I'm going with this. You got to be in pursuit of these players when you have that money available. That doesn't mean anything, though. The Ringer reporting that the Lakers are going to pursue Kawhi Leonard doesn't mean anything. They should pursue Kawhi Leonard. Everybody should pursue Kawhi Leonard. Maybe unlike Kemba Walker, Kawhi Leonard fits on every team regardless of the position. Like, he works. So I wouldn't read too much into that report that they're going to pursue him. They should pursue him. The Clippers are going to pursue him. The Raptors are going to pursue him. I'm still of the belief that it's the Raptors or the Clippers and that it is like 90% the Clippers. He won Toronto a championship, man. He's got nothing else to do. Keep it moving. But we got the draft coming up on Thursday. We got free agency coming up right after that. I did not expect, we had said this is going to be an exciting time for the NBA. The NBA offseason has gotten really, really fun. I didn't expect to happen 2 days after the NBA finals ended. I guess this is the perfect kickoff to the NBA offseason with the draft coming up, free agency right around the corner. We've got the California Classic here in Sacramento at the Golden One Center, and then we got the Summer League in Las Vegas right after that. And we'll keep you updated on everything all along the way. Make sure, if you're not a subscriber yet, that you become one. Regardless of the platform, you could subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Audio Boom, all of that stuff. Hit the subscribe button. Never miss a single episode. Make sure you got the alerts on to notify you when an episode posts. They never, ever post after 12 o'clock, afternoon. I make sure they're always up before then. Every once in a while, I'll post one much, much earlier. If you're on Apple Podcast, if you wouldn't mind, take a few minutes, just 60 seconds to write a review or just leave a little rating. It's just a 5 stars. Those go a really, really, really long way, particularly with Apple Podcasts. So if you're able to do that, I greatly appreciate it. But just be a subscriber. Keep listening. I love having each and every single one of you. I'm so grateful for all of you. So that was definitely the main story. We'll get to some of your questions, some of your comments coming up here in just a few minutes. I do want to touch on a couple of things that happened over the weekend at Tiger Woo, I like him. He shot a 69. It's a 10-year low for Tiger. It's the lowest round in 10 years at the U.S. Open. Finished 2 under. Tyson Fury singing Aerosmith was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Ever. I'm actually mad that I saw it. Dude is badass. There's no denying that. But yikes. I guess when you beat people the way that he does, it's just like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sing. I'm going to sing in the middle of this ring, and there is literally nothing anyone can do about it. Because I'm Tyson Fury, who held on to the lineal championship. I did ask people if they had been mishearing us all of these years when we were saying linear championship. No, you didn't mishear us. They're two different things. The lineal championship, that's something real. That's something boxing people have been tracking for years. The linear, that's just a straight line. It's something we made up. It's just something we completely made up on the spur of the moment one day. They're not at all, they're not even remotely related. Quick WNBA story. This is actually more of a Be Conscious story that I want to share with you. Don't skip forward. It's not too overly political, but just take a listen to this here for a second. I want to read a quote to you from Natasha Cloud, a member of the Washington Mystics, shortly after their game against the Seattle Storm a couple of nights ago. Tonight didn't go as planned, but we're talking about a game, the loss of a game. There are a lot more losses going on within our community, especially within this community of Ward 8. We as a team only want to bring light to the issues going on within this community, and that is the violence around kids going to school. There will be no statements about the game. Again, it's just a game. We're talking about people's lives. She went back into the locker room. What she was referring to is Natasha and one of her teammates, Ariel Atkins, had visited Henley Elementary School, which is in Ward 8 in the D.C. area, to read books to young children. That's you see that with NBA teams, you see it with WNBA teams, you see it with players, you see that all the time. While they were there, Natasha found out that someone had shot a bullet through the window at the school the day before. So kids weren't allowed to play outside out of fear for their safety. And to compound that a little bit, she also found out that it's not an isolated incident. 3 bullets had hit the school last month. This is an elementary school, man. So I give a lot of credit. I love the Washington Mystics organization. I love everything about the Washington Mystics organization. And good for the Mystics and good for Natasha Cloud to step up and speak out the way that she did. On a side note, I watched The Hate U Give this weekend. That's one of those movies that I promise I won't do this often on this show, but it's a fucking horror movie, man. Like, you know, there's nothing. It's a fantastic movie, and there's nothing creative in it, in the sense of, you know, everything that's going to happen because it plays out in real life. And you gotta watch it. It is a tough watch. It's a great movie. It is a really, really difficult watch. And I hope if you take the time to sit down and watch it, if you tune in for the sports and you tend not to lean towards my side on social thinking, that's fine. That's perfectly okay. I respect that and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you're listening. But if you take 2 hours, I think it's 2 hours and 15 minutes roughly, to watch this movie, sit down, watch it with a completely open mind, and realize that what you're watching is very, very, very real. I am not ashamed to say I cried through damn near that entire movie. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people have suggested that I watch that Netflix series. I think it's called The Way They See Us, the one about the Central Park Five. I know the story about the Central Park Five, man, and I haven't had the stomach to sit down and watch that yet. It's 4 episodes. It's a little over 4 hours long. I haven't had the stomach to do it yet. I want to. I will. I'm just not I'm going through my own issues right now, man, and I'm not in the right mindset to watch that one yet. But I will. But if you get a chance to watch The Hate U Give, please do. In another note, the U.S. women won again, and they celebrated very quietly. The U.S. women's soccer team won 3-0 against Chile, and nice golf claps all around for Carly Lloyd. Very cute, very respectful. No over celebrating here. No controversy coming out of this game. On this day, man, what a day this was 25 years ago. June 17th, 1994. It's immortalized in a fantastic 30 for 30 documentary. It is amazing to think all of these things happened on one day. All of these things happened on June 17th, 1994. If you haven't seen that 30 for 30 yet, you've got to watch it. It's one of the most creative ones that they've ever done because there's no narrator. It's just clips. It's like a timeline of clips all throughout the day that covers Arnold Palmer playing his final U.S. Open round, shooting an 81 at Oakmont. It covers the United States playing host to the World Cup for the very first time at Soldier Field in Chicago. It covers the city of New York celebrating the Rangers' first Stanley Cup victory since 1940 with the ticker tape parade and everything that goes along with it. Then, of course, you've got the NBA Finals going on, a Game 5 in a 2-2 series at Madison Square Garden when the Knicks beat the Houston Rockets. All in a small screen on your television because the main screen was showing O.J. Simpson driving around in a Ford Bronco. That was 25 years ago today. All of that was 25 years ago today. O.J. Simpson at the Bronco chase and 95 million people watching along with that on television. Absolutely amazing. Anyone who saw that will never, ever, ever forget it. And is it weird that O.J. Yeah, the answer is yes. It is weird that O.J. Simpson started a Twitter account. But dude, he did it like on the 25th anniversary of his wife's murder? Or on near the 25th anniversary of his arrest? Dude, talking about he's got some getting even to do. Yo, man, what is wrong with OJ? And how sick are we? Okay, I want to be clear. I didn't follow him. I mean, I'm following what's happening, but I didn't follow him. How sick are we for playing along with
world,
this?
This is yours truly. Now, coming soon to Twitter, you'll get to read all my thoughts and opinions on just about everything. Now, there's a lot of fake OJ accounts out there, so this one, at the real OJ32, is the only official one. So this should be a lot of fun. I got a little getting even to do. So God bless. Take care.
What does that mean? Dude, what does that mean? The last time he had some getting even to do, 2 people died. Oh my gosh, man. He's got some getting even to do. He's posted 2 things. He posted another video talking about all the fun he's gonna have, and I think it was a happy Father's Day shout out.
Able to say whatever they want to say about me with no accountability. But now I get to challenge a lot of that BS and set the record straight.
I'm sorry, man. Some of y'all should be afraid. You hear the words that are coming out of this dude's mouth?
More importantly, I'll be able to talk about everything, especially sports, fantasy football, and even politics. But for now, let me just say to my fellow fathers out there,
who asked for this?
Day, and God bless.
Who asked for this? OJ's thoughts on politics and fantasy football. Oh, man, this is going to get dark, and this is going to dark quick. As of right now, there are 564 plus thousand people following O.J. Simpson. Oh, dear. Anyways, go check out that June 17th, 1994, 30 for 30, if you have not yet. Let's get to some of your comments here. Remember, you can like us on Facebook, like me on Facebook. Just search Damian Barling. Hit the like button right there on the page. That's actually a very new page. I started that the day we started this podcast, so it's growing quickly, and I greatly appreciate that. The interaction on that page has been absolutely extraordinary, so thank you so much for the successful launch of that Facebook page. At Twitter, at Damian Barling. Instagram as well, which has received a big boost lately, at Damian Barling. We appreciate that. Let's get to some of the remarks. I had asked how you guys felt about the Anthony Davis trade. My man Bert said, D'Lo, they scored a huge addition with AD. To give up the number 4 pick for that is a good trade-off. Hart is a little bit of a loss, but Ball and Ingram needed a change of scenery. I think if they get Kyrie or Kemba, then it is a huge win. Where do you think this places them position-wise in the Western Conference? Bird, as we mentioned, Las Vegas loves them. And we just laid out a scenario right there. You acquire a free agent like you just talked about, a Kyrie or a Kemba. You already have the Golden State Warriors without Kevin Durant. You have the Golden State Warriors without Klay Thompson, at least for next year. Kevin Durant, obviously, I mean, they could both be significantly longer. I believe that Klay is going to re-sign with the Golden State. We'll see what Kevin Durant does, but they're not playing next year. I think this puts them in really, really good position to win the Western Conference. And I'm not talking about regular season win the Western Conference. I'm talking about the representation of the Western Conference in the NBA Finals, I think, may come down next year. Based on what happens over the course of the next couple of weeks, it may come down to the two teams in Los Angeles. My man Aaron didn't give up Kuzma, got rid of LeBar, number 4 pick this year, plus late teens picks at best. Next few years, not equal anything close to what AD brings. Got a top 5 talent in the world for an average point guard and some spare parts plus picks. Sounds like a win to me. My man Ray said Lakers finally made a good move. Chris Thomas, Lakers kept Kuzma. That's winning. Got rid of Ball. That's a win. Got rid of Ingram. That's a win. First round picks. The Lakers have the opportunity to secure people through those picks. So most likely they can rebuild with role players. Their draft and development strategy wasn't going too well anyways. That's a good point. That's a good point that I don't think we brought up here on the show. Is Ingram was he a number 2 pick or number 3 pick? Lonzo was a number 2 pick. I think those guys were both number 2 picks. And you were willing to move them both. Now, granted, you're getting Anthony Davis back, but there were a lot of people. I think people mostly liked Brandon Ingram. There's probably a little bit of concern about his future. Maybe a little bit. You have the blood clot situation, and of course, that springs to mind in the immediate memories of Chris Bosh. So now that's obviously an extreme example, but you have to keep that in the back of your head, and sometimes you have to think in the extremes. People thought Lonzo didn't develop. I disagree. I just don't think he was a good fit for LeBron. I don't think those two players worked well together, but Chris made a good point right there. Sergio said, to put a little perspective on things, Toronto traded DeMar DeRozan, some other guy, and the 29th pick for Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, and got a ring. Now compare that to what the Lakers just gave up. That's fair to bring that up, Sergio, but I think they're completely different scenarios in that the Raptors were taking a gamble. Masai Ujiri was taking a gamble that they were going to win Kawhi's heart and get him to re-sign in Toronto. Now, if they're able to do that, that's the trade of the century. And a little hyperbole there. But it's a great trade if Kawhi Leonard re-signs. If they don't, it's still a great trade because they won a ring and they can start building what's next for them, and that's a good organization, and I don't think they're in the lottery next year because Kawhi Leonard leaves. With the Lakers, you acquired Anthony Davis for the next 5 to 6 years. That's the difference. That's why it's okay that they gave up so much, because you're acquiring a player of that talent for so long. One other note from the Pelicans here that we saw yesterday is Julius Randle, who I really like, by the way. He's going to decline his player option next year, and he's going to become a free agent as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for downloading. If you're not a subscriber yet, please become a subscriber. If you haven't left that quick 5-star rating, please do that. If you have an extra 60 to 120 seconds to leave a review, I'd greatly appreciate that. I know I'm begging some of you to do this every single day. Thank you for putting up with me. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the podcast with Damian Barling.